The hammering in my skull matched the rhythm of my heartbeat, sharp, relentless, unforgiving. I opened my eyes to unfamiliar darkness, the kind that felt expensive, heavy with silence that only money could buy. Silk sheets whispered against my skin as I moved, cool and smooth in a way my threadbare cotton ones at home never were. The scent hit me next. Cedar and something darker, masculine, leather mixed with a cologne that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Where was I? Panic clawed up my throat as I sat up too quickly, and the room tilted. My head throbbed with the kind of pain that promised I'd done something monumentally stupid the night before. But I couldn't remember. Not the drinking, not leaving the restaurant after my shift, not... My breath caught. A ring. On my left hand, fourth finger, sat a band of platinum so bright it seemed to glow in the dim light filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows. Diamonds circled it, not the tiny chips you'd find in a mall jewelry store, but substantial stones that caught the early morning light and threw it back in sharp, accusatory flashes. This wasn't happening. My hands shook as I touched the ring, tugging at it. It didn't budge. Perfectly sized, as if it had been made for me. The metal was warm from my skin, and something about that warmth made everything more real, more terrifying. I was wearing someone's ring, a wedding ring. The penthouse sprawled around me like something from a magazine I'd never be able to afford. Modern furniture in shades of black and gray, artwork that looked original, windows that showcased the city skyline in a way that made me dizzy with how high up we had to be. The bed alone was larger than my entire bedroom in the cramped apartment I shared with Emma. Emma. Oh God, Emma. My 4-year-old daughter. I'd left her with Mrs. Chen next door. Promised I'd be back after my shift at the restaurant ended at 11. What time was it now? My phone. Where was my phone? I scrambled out of the bed, my legs tangling in sheets that probably cost more than my car. The hardwood floor was cold beneath my bare feet as I searched frantically for my clothes, my purse, anything familiar. Instead, I found myself wearing a silk nightgown I'd never seen before, champagne-colored and delicate, with lace that felt like spiderwebs against my skin. Someone had undressed me. Someone had put this on me. Someone had put that ring on my finger. The implications made my stomach turn. I pressed a hand to my mouth, forcing down the nausea, forcing myself to think. The last thing I remembered was finishing my shift, walking to my car in the employee parking lot behind Marcello's. It had been raining. I remembered that. The pavement slick and black, reflecting the neon signs from the street. My uniform had been damp, clinging to my skin, and I'd been counting tips in my head, calculating if I'd made enough to pay the overdue electric bill. Then, nothing. A door opened somewhere in the penthouse and I froze. Footsteps, multiple sets, moving with military precision. Low voices speaking in tones too quiet to make out words, but loud enough to send alarm bells screaming through my system. I needed to leave. Now. I spotted my clothes folded neatly on a chair near the window, my jeans, my t-shirt, even my bra and underwear, all cleaned and pressed. The careful arrangement of them felt more invasive than if they'd been thrown on the floor. Someone had touched my things, handled them with care that suggested ownership. I grabbed them, my fingers clumsy with fear, and had just pulled on my jeans when the bedroom door opened. He stood in the doorway, and everything in me went still. I'd seen dangerous men before. Working at Marcello's, you learned to recognize them, the ones who moved like predators, who commanded space just by existing. But this man was different. This man was danger, distilled into human form, wrapped in an expensive black suit that fit him like a second skin. He couldn't have been more than 30, with dark hair cut short and styled with precision, and eyes so dark they looked black in the morning light. Sharp jawline, full lips that were currently pressed into a line that could have been amusement or annoyance. I couldn't tell. He was handsome in a way that made you forget to breathe, the kind of beautiful that came with a price tag of blood and violence. Behind him, I could see 2 other men, massive and silent, their hands clasped in front of them, their eyes scanning the room with the professional assessment of trained bodyguards. "You're awake." His voice was smooth, cultured, with an accent I couldn't quite place. Not quite Italian, but close. Each word was measured, controlled, as if he was a man who never said anything he didn't mean. "Good. We need to talk." I backed up until my legs hit the bed, my shirt clutched to my chest like a shield. Who are you? What is this? Where am I? He stepped into the room, and the bodyguards remained in the doorway, silent sentinels. He moved with the kind of confidence that came from never having been told no, from always getting exactly what he wanted. The door closed behind him with a soft click that sounded like a cell door locking. My name is Dante Salvatore. He said it as if I should recognize it, as if those two words should mean something. When I just stared at him blankly, something flickered in his eyes, surprise, maybe, or interest. You really don't know who I am, should I? My voice came out stronger than I felt, and I was grateful for that small mercy. Most people do. He moved closer, each step deliberate, and I noticed how he held himself, always aware of the space around him, of the exits, of me. But perhaps that's refreshing. Tell me, Charlotte, do you remember last night? He knew my name. Of course he knew my name. Panic spiked through me again. How do you... Your purse. Your ID. You work at Marcello's as a waitress. You have a daughter, Emma, 4 years old. You live at 2847 Ashwood Terrace, apartment 3B. You drive a 2008 Honda Civic that's one inspection away from falling apart. You're 3 months behind on rent and 2 months behind on your car payment. You dropped out of college in your sophomore year when you got pregnant. The father is not in the picture. You have no family to speak of, no safety net, no one who would miss you if you disappeared. Each word was a punch to the gut, delivered in that same calm, measured tone. He'd had me investigated, thoroughly. The level of detail made my skin crawl. What do you want from me? I whispered. He stopped a few feet away, close enough that I could smell that cologne again. Expensive and dark and completely overwhelming, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. This close, I could see they weren't completely black. They were the deepest brown I'd ever seen, with flecks of amber that caught the light. I want you to understand your situation. He held up his left hand, and I saw it. An identical platinum band on his fourth finger, simple and elegant and terrifying. As of midnight last night, you became my wife. The world tilted. That's impossible. I wouldn't, you did. He lowered his hand, and his gaze dropped to the ring on my finger with something that looked almost like satisfaction. You signed the papers. You said the vows. It's all quite legal, I assure you. I don't remember any of that. My voice was rising, hysteria creeping in at the edges. I don't remember anything after leaving work. No, you wouldn't. He said it so casually, as if drugging someone was just another Tuesday morning activity. Rohypnol is quite effective that way. Don't worry. Nothing inappropriate happened. The marriage was necessary for business reasons. You were simply the most convenient option. I was going to be sick. I was going to collapse. I was going to scream until someone came to help me. But the rational part of my brain, the part that had kept me and Emma alive for 4 years on tips and determination, knew that no one would come, no one would help. Men like this didn't get caught. Men like this made people disappear. I have a daughter, I said, and my voice broke on the words. Please, I have a little girl. She needs me. I have to get back to her. Something shifted in his expression, something too quick to read. He studied me for a long moment, his head tilted slightly, as if I were a puzzle he was trying to solve. Your daughter is fine. Mrs. Chen has been compensated generously for her extended care. Emma believes you took an extra shift at work. He pulled out a phone, one of several I could see in his jacket, and showed me a photo. Emma, asleep in her bed, clutching the stuffed rabbit I'd bought her at a thrift store. The photo was time-stamped less than an hour ago. The message was clear. He could reach her anytime he wanted. You're a monster, I breathed. Yes. He pocketed the phone, unbothered by the accusation. But I'm your husband now, and that affords you certain protections you didn't have before. Protection you desperately need, even if you don't know it yet. I don't need anything from you except to let me go. That's not possible. He moved past me to the window, looking out over the city with the posture of a man who owned it. You see, Charlotte, 3 nights ago, someone stole from me a significant amount of money and some rather sensitive information. The man who did this, He turned back to face me, and his eyes had gone cold, empty. Was your boyfriend, Jake Morrison. The name hit me like a physical blow. Jake, my ex, Emma's father, the man who'd abandoned us when I told him I was pregnant, who I hadn't seen or heard from in over 3 years. I don't know where he is, I said quickly. I haven't seen him since. I know. Dante's voice was soft, dangerous. He's very good at hiding, but everyone has a weakness, Charlotte. Everyone has something they care about enough to risk everything for. His eyes locked onto mine. You're going to help me find him. I told you. I don't know. He'll come for you. Dante moved closer again, and this time, I had nowhere to retreat. When he learns I've married you, when he learns you're under my protection and my possession, he'll come. Men like Jake, they're predictable that way. They don't care about their children, but their pride, their possessions, that they'll fight for. I'm not anyone's possession. Aren't you? He reached out, and I flinched, but he only took my left hand, his thumb brushing over the ring with a gentleness that somehow made everything worse. His touch was warm, his hands calloused in ways that suggested he was familiar with violence personally, not just by command. This ring says otherwise. The marriage certificate says otherwise. The fact that you're standing in my penthouse, wearing clothes I provided, breathing air I allow you to breathe, that says otherwise. I yanked my hand back, cradling it against my chest as if I could protect it retroactively. You can't keep me here. This is kidnapping. I'll go to the police. The police? He actually smiled, and it was the most terrifying thing I'd seen yet. Charlotte, I own half the police in this city. The other half knows better than to interfere with my business. But please, if you'd like to try, my phone is right here. He pulled out another phone, this one different from the first, and held it out to me. I stared at it, at him, at the trap he was laying so casually. If I took it, I'd be proving I didn't understand how completely I was caught. If I didn't, I was accepting his version of reality. What do you want from me? I asked again, but this time my voice was smaller, defeated. For now? Breakfast. You must be hungry. He pocketed the phone and moved toward the door. Then we'll discuss the rules of our arrangement. You'll find everything you need in the closet and bathroom. Someone will come for you in 30 minutes. And if I refuse? He paused at the door, his hand on the handle, and looked back at me over his shoulder. Then you'll go hungry, and we'll have this conversation later. The outcome will be the same, Charlotte. It always is. The door closed behind him with that same soft, final click. I stood there, frozen, my mind racing through impossible options. I could try to run, but where? I was dozens of floors up, and even if I made it to the street, he had people. He had resources. He had my daughter's location. I could try to fight, but the men outside that door were twice my size and trained to kill. I could scream, but who would hear me? Who would care? The ring on my finger caught the light again, and I looked down at it. This morning I'd woken up as Charlotte Hayes, single mother, struggling waitress, invisible to everyone who mattered. Now I was Charlotte Salvatore, wife to a monster, and somehow I had to figure out how to survive long enough to get back to my daughter. The bathroom was larger than my living room and kitchen combined, marble everywhere, floors, walls, countertops, all in shades of white and gray that seemed to glow with their own light. Gold fixtures gleamed like they'd never been touched, and the shower had so many jets and settings I couldn't begin to figure out how it worked. A soaking tub sat by the window, deep enough to drown in, with a view of the city that made my stomach lurch. I caught sight of myself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. My dark hair was tangled, falling past my shoulders in waves I never had time to style properly. My face was pale, dark circles under my green eyes from too many late shifts and not enough sleep. The silk nightgown hung on my frame. I'd lost weight over the past few months, too stressed to eat properly, stretching every dollar to make sure Emma had enough. I looked exactly like what I was, desperate, exhausted, trapped. The ring glinted on my finger, mocking me. I tried again to pull it off, twisting and tugging until my knuckle was red and my finger swollen. It wouldn't move. He'd made sure of that. Everything about this situation had been calculated, measured, controlled. Dante Salvatore didn't leave anything to chance. Dante Salvatore. The name echoed in my head, and pieces started clicking together. Marcello's restaurant, where I worked, wasn't just any Italian place. It was high-end, exclusive, the kind of establishment where reservations were made months in advance, and politicians rubbed elbows with people who definitely weren't politicians. I'd heard whispers, seen things I pretended not to see. Money changing hands under tables. Men in expensive suits having conversations that stopped the moment I approached. Envelopes passed in coat pockets. I'd needed the job too badly to ask questions. Tips were generous at Marcello's, and I couldn't afford morals when Emma needed food and clothes and a roof over her head. But now those whispers made sense. Salvatore. I'd heard that name before, murmured with fear and respect. The family that controlled the waterfront, the organization that ran half the city's underground operations. The kind of people you didn't cross if you wanted to keep breathing. And I was married to their boss. A knock on the bedroom door made me jump. Mrs. Salvatore? I'm coming in. Mrs. Salvatore. The words made me want to vomit. I grabbed a plush robe from the hook, because of course there was a robe, and of course it was cashmere, and wrapped it around myself before stepping back into the bedroom. A woman stood near the door, older, maybe 50, with steel gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She wore a crisp black dress and sensible shoes, and her expression was professional but not unkind. Behind her, one of the bodyguards from earlier stood sentinel. "My name is Teresa," she said with a slight accent, Portuguese maybe. "I manage Mr. Salvatore's household. He's asked me to help you get settled." "I'm not settling anywhere," I said. But the words came out weak, unconvincing. Teresa's expression softened slightly, and somehow that was worse than if she'd been cold. Pity. She pitied me. "Nevertheless, you should eat something and shower. Mr. Salvatore wants to see you in an hour." "What if I don't want to see him? Then he'll come here." She moved to the closet and opened it, revealing a space larger than my bedroom. Clothes hung in neat rows, dresses, slacks, blouses, all in my size. How did he know my size? "Everything here is for you. I took the liberty of including some casual items as well. I wasn't sure what your preferences were." I stared at the closet, at the fortune hanging there in silk and cashmere and designer labels I'd only ever seen in magazines. "I have clothes, at home. Those have been collected and cleaned. They're here as well." Teresa gestured to a section at the back, where I could see my worn jeans, my faded t-shirts, looking shabby and out of place among the luxury surrounding them. He'd gone to my apartment, sent people to go through my things. Had they looked through Emma's room too? Touched her toys, her clothes, her bed? "You can't keep me here," I said, and I hated how my voice shook. "I have rights. I have a life. I have a daughter. Your daughter will be brought to you this afternoon." Teresa's voice was matter-of-fact, as if she was discussing a grocery delivery. "Mr. Salvatore thought you'd be more comfortable with her here." The room spun. "What?" "Emma will arrive at 3 o'clock. A room has been prepared for her. You'll find it meets all her needs." Teresa pulled out a simple black dress and laid it on the bed. "This should be appropriate for breakfast. The shower controls are labeled. Please be ready in 45 minutes. She left before I could respond, the door clicking shut with that same terrible finality. Emma. He was bringing Emma here, to this place, to him. I should have been relieved. I'd been desperate to see her, to hold her, to make sure she was okay. But instead, terror crawled up my spine. He was bringing her here because it meant I'd never leave. He was creating a prison and making me want to stay in it. The shower was scalding, and I stood under the water until my skin turned red, trying to wash away the feeling of violation, of helplessness. It didn't work. Nothing could wash away the ring on my finger, or the reality of my situation. I dressed in the black dress because my own clothes felt like surrender, and the new clothes felt like acceptance. At least the dress was simple, modest, falling to my knees and covering my arms. I left my hair down because I had no energy to do anything else with it. And I didn't bother with the makeup I found in the bathroom drawers. If Dante Salvatore wanted a wife, he'd get the real me. Exhausted, terrified, and furious. Teresa returned exactly 45 minutes later, her timing precise. The bodyguard was with her again, a silent reminder that I wasn't going anywhere alone. This way, please. The penthouse was even more impressive and intimidating in daylight. We walked down a hallway lined with artwork that probably cost more than I'd earn in a lifetime. Every surface gleamed, every corner was pristine. It felt more like a museum than a home. Beautiful and cold, and utterly devoid of life. We passed several doors, all closed, and I wondered what was behind them. Offices, bedrooms, torture chambers. With a man like Dante, anything seemed possible. The dining room took my breath away despite my determination not to be impressed. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, the morning sun streaming in and illuminating a table that could seat 20. Crystal chandeliers hung overhead, catching the light and throwing rainbows across the walls. And at the head of the table, reading something on a tablet, sat Dante. He'd changed into a different suit. Charcoal gray this time, with a black shirt open at the collar, no tie. Even dressed casually, he radiated power and danger. He looked up as I entered, those dark eyes tracking my movement with an intensity that made my skin prickle. Charlotte. He set down the tablet and stood, a gesture of politeness that felt mocking given the circumstances. Please. Sit. 2 places were set at the end of the table, his at the head, mine to his right, close enough to touch, close enough that I could smell that cologne again, cedar and leather and something darker I couldn't name. I sat because Teresa was waiting, because the bodyguard was watching, because I had no choice. The chair was comfortable, the cushion soft, and I hated it. Breakfast appeared as if by magic. Staff members I hadn't seen arriving with silver trays and covered dishes, fresh fruit and pastries, eggs cooked 3 different ways, bacon and sausage, toast and jams, coffee and juices. Enough food to feed 10 people. The waste of it made my chest tight, thinking about all the nights I'd skipped dinner to make sure Emma had enough to eat. You need to eat, Dante said, his voice conversational, as if we were discussing the weather. You're too thin. Poverty will do that, I shot back. His lips twitched. Amusement or annoyance, I still couldn't tell. Not anymore. You have access to whatever you need now. Clothes, food, anything for your daughter. There's a credit card in your name. No limit. I don't want your money. Nevertheless, you have it. He poured coffee into my cup. Black. The way I took it at work. Of course he'd know that too. Eat, Charlotte. We have much to discuss, and I prefer you conscious for it. I picked up a piece of toast because my stomach was eating itself, and because I needed strength to fight, even if I didn't know how yet. The bread was fresh, still warm, buttery and perfect. I hated that it tasted good. Dante watched me eat with that same unsettling focus, as if cataloging every bite, every movement. He barely touched his own food, instead studying me the way a scientist might study an interesting specimen. Tell me about Jake, he said finally. I nearly choked on the toast. What? Jake Morrison, your ex, Emma's father. Tell me about him. Why would I help you find him? Because the alternative is worse, he said it calmly, but there was steel underneath the words. Jake stole from me. That requires a response. The only question is how much collateral damage there will be. If you help me find him quickly, that damage can be minimized. What kind of damage? His eyes held mine, the kind that involves people he might still care about. You. His daughter. Anyone he's been in contact with over the past 3 years. Nausea rose in my throat. You'd hurt Emma? I'd never hurt a child. The words were sharp, offended, as if I'd insulted him. But Jake doesn't know that. And men make interesting choices when they believe their children are in danger. She's not his child, not really. He never wanted her. He left the moment I told him I was pregnant. Yes, I know. Dante leaned back in his chair, his long fingers drumming once on the table, the only sign of impatience I'd seen. But he's been watching you, both of you. Did you know that? My blood went cold. What? For the past 6 months, someone's been monitoring your apartment, your work schedule, Emma's daycare. I assumed it was one of my competitors at first, trying to find leverage. But when the theft happened, I had my people dig deeper. He pulled out one of his phones and showed me a series of photographs, me leaving for work, Emma playing at the park, our building. All taken from a distance, surveillance style. Jake's been keeping tabs on you, planning something. The theft was just the beginning. I couldn't breathe. All this time I'd thought we were safe. Anonymous. Invisible. But Jake had been watching. And now Dante was watching. We were trapped between two monsters. And I had no idea which one was worse. What did he steal? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Money. 5 million in cash. But more importantly, information. Client lists. Transaction records. Details about shipments and operations. Dante's jaw tightened. Information that could destroy my business and get a lot of people killed if it falls into the wrong hands. Your ex-boyfriend has become a very dangerous man, Charlotte. He was always dangerous, I said bitterly. Just in smaller, meaner ways. Something flickered in Dante's expression. Curiosity, maybe. He hurt you. It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. Not physically. Jake was too smart for that. He just had a way of making you feel worthless, small, like you deserved whatever scraps he threw your way. I looked down at my coffee, at the ring glinting on my finger. And then he left. And honestly, that was the kindest thing he ever did. And yet you never reported him for child support. Never tried to track him down, because I know men like Jake, they don't let go of things they consider theirs. As long as he stayed away, Emma was safe. I met Dante's eyes. Now you've painted a target on us. If he comes for you, we're in the crossfire. No. The word was absolute, final. You're under my protection now. Anyone who touches you answers to me. That includes Jake. Your protection? You kidnapped me. You drugged me and married me without my consent. You're using me as bait to catch my ex-boyfriend. That's not protection. That's slavery. Dante's eyes went dark, dangerous. And I saw it then. The violence he kept leashed, the capacity for cruelty that made him who he was. For a moment, I thought I'd gone too far, that I'd triggered something that couldn't be taken back. But then he smiled, and somehow that was more terrifying. You have spirit, he said softly. Good. You'll need it. He stood, towering over me, and extended his hand. Come. I want to show you something. I didn't take his hand. What if I refuse? Then Marco will carry you, and you'll be embarrassed in front of the staff. Your choice. I stood on my own, ignoring his offered hand, following him because the alternative was worse. We walked through the penthouse, past more rooms with closed doors, until we reached an office. He opened the door and gestured for me to enter. The room was all dark wood and leather, with bookshelves lining the walls, and a massive desk facing more of those floor-to-ceiling windows. But what drew my eye was the wall to the left, covered in photographs, documents, maps. Red string connecting various points like something from a crime show. At the center of it all was a picture of Jake. This is what I know about your ex, Dante said, moving to stand beside me. Too close. Always too close. 3 years ago, he was working small-time cons. Identity theft, credit card fraud, nothing sophisticated. Then he disappeared for 2 years. When he resurfaced 6 months ago, he was different, trained, connected. He'd been recruited by someone, I don't know who yet, and turned into something more dangerous. I stared at Jake's face. He looked different than I remembered, harder, colder, but the eyes were the same, those pale blue eyes that had once made me feel special, wanted, before I learned they only saw prey. Why would someone recruit him? Because he has connections to me, whether he knew it or not. Dante pointed to another photograph, Marcello's restaurant. He knew you worked there. He knew you'd have access to certain areas, certain information. I think he was planning to use you somehow, before I complicated things. By marrying me. By claiming you. His hand moved to the small of my back, possessive, a gesture that should have repulsed me, but instead sent a shiver up my spine. Jake's mistake was thinking you were still his to use. You're not. You belong to me now. I jerked away from his touch. I don't belong to anyone. Don't you? He caught my left hand, his thumb brushing over the ring again with that same terrible gentleness. You're my wife, Charlotte. That means something in my world. It means you're untouchable. It means anyone who threatens you signs their own death warrant. It means you and your daughter will never want for anything again. At what cost? His eyes searched mine, and for just a moment, I thought I saw something human in them. Something almost vulnerable, but it was gone before I could be sure, replaced by that cold certainty that defined him. Your freedom, for a time. Your cooperation. Your trust, eventually. He released my hand. But not your soul. Never that. I'm not your ex-boyfriend, Charlotte. I don't break things I value. You value me? I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. I'm just bait. A tool. Something convenient. You were, he agreed. When I chose you for this. He trailed off, studying me with that intensity that made me feel naked, exposed. Now I'm not sure what you are, but you're mine regardless. The sooner you accept that, the easier this will be. A phone buzzed. One of several in his jacket. He pulled it out, read something, and his expression hardened into something dangerous. Your daughter's car will be here in 10 minutes, he said. I suggest you compose yourself. Children are perceptive, and I'd rather not have her frightened. Emma. My baby. Relief and terror warred in my chest. I want to meet her alone. No. Please, no. The word was absolute. I need her to see us together, to understand that this is normal, that you're safe with me. If she senses your fear, if she thinks you're in danger, this becomes complicated. This is already complicated. Then don't make it worse. He moved closer, his hand cupping my cheek in a gesture that could have been tender if not for the steel in his eyes. You're an intelligent woman, Charlotte. You know how to survive. So survive this. Smile for your daughter. Show her you're happy. Convince her this is home. Because the alternative, having her see her mother terrified and trapped, that serves no one. His thumb brushed my cheekbone. And despite everything, despite the fear and fury, my body reacted to his touch. Heat bloomed under his fingers, unwanted and undeniable. I hate you, I whispered. I know. He smiled, and it was sad, resigned, as if he'd heard those words before and expected to hear them again. But you'll learn to hate me less. I can be patient when necessary. He dropped his hand and stepped back, that professional distance returning. Teresa will bring her up. Remember what I said. You're happy. This is home. We're newlyweds, who fell madly in love. Can you do that? I thought of Emma, of her wide eyes and bright smile, of how she trusted me to keep her safe. I thought of what it would do to her to see me broken, to know her mother was trapped. Yes, I said, I can do that. Because for Emma, I could do anything, even pretend to love a monster. The 10 minutes felt like 10 seconds and 10 hours simultaneously. Teresa appeared with a knowing look, guiding me to the living room, a sprawling space with cream-colored furniture and abstract art that probably cost more than my car. Dante stood by the window, his posture relaxed but alert, always aware of everything around him. She's here, he said, pocketing one of his phones. My heart hammered against my ribs. I pressed my palms against my thighs, trying to stop them from shaking. The elevator dinged. Private access, straight into the penthouse. And I heard her before I saw her. Mommy? Emma's voice shattered something in my chest. I rushed toward the entrance hall, not caring about Dante's instructions or his watchful eyes, needing only to hold my daughter, to make sure she was real and safe and whole. She appeared around the corner, her small hand clasped in Mrs. Chen's weathered one, her favorite stuffed rabbit tucked under her arm. When she saw me, her face lit up with that pure, uncomplicated joy only children possess. Mommy, she released Mrs. Chen and ran to me, her small body colliding with mine as I dropped to my knees and caught her. She smelled like baby shampoo and strawberry juice and home. I buried my face in her dark curls, so like my own, and fought back tears. She was okay. She was here. She was safe. I missed you so much, baby, I whispered, holding her tight enough that she squirmed. Mrs. Chen said you had to work extra, Emma said against my shoulder, but she let me have ice cream for breakfast, so it was okay. I pulled back to look at her, drinking in every detail. Her green eyes, My eyes sparkled with excitement. She wore her favorite purple dress, slightly wrinkled, and her sneakers had a new scuff on the toe. She was perfect. She was everything. "I'm sorry I was gone," I said, brushing her hair back from her face. "But I'm here now. And I have a surprise for you." Her eyes widened. A surprise? This was it. The moment where I became a liar, where I sold my soul to keep her innocent. I forced brightness into my voice, manufactured joy I didn't feel. "Remember how I told you that someday we might have a bigger family?" The words tasted like ash. Well, something wonderful happened. Mommy met someone very special, and we got married. I nearly choked on it. "You have a new daddy." Emma's face scrunched in confusion. "A daddy?" "That's right, princess." Dante's voice came from behind me, warm and gentle in a way I hadn't heard before. I turned, Emma still in my arms, and watched him approach. He moved differently now, slower, less predatory, as if he understood that children could sense danger the way animals could. He crouched down to Emma's level, his expensive suit straining slightly, and smiled. It transformed his face, softening the harsh lines, making him look almost human, almost safe. "My name is Dante," he said, "and I'm very happy to meet you, Emma. Your mommy has told me so much about you." Emma pressed closer to me, suddenly shy. She peeked at him from behind her rabbit, her small voice uncertain. "You're married to my mommy?" "I am." He glanced at me, and for anyone watching, it would have looked like affection. "I love her very much, and I promise to take care of both of you. Would that be okay?" Emma considered this with the seriousness only a 4-year-old could muster. Then she noticed something. His watch, expensive and complicated, with multiple dials that caught the light. "That's pretty," she said. Dante looked down at the watch, then back at Emma. "Would you like to see it?" She nodded, curiosity overcoming shyness. He unclasped the watch, easily worth more than I'd earn in 5 years, and held it out to her. Emma took it with reverent care, her small fingers tracing the metal, fascinated by the moving parts. "It tells time in different countries," Dante explained. "See this dial? That's what time it is in Italy, where my family is from. And this one is for Japan, and this one is for right here." "Wow." Emma's voice was filled with wonder. She looked up at him, then at me, then back at him. "Are you really my daddy now?" The question hung in the air. Dante's eyes met mine over Emma's head, and I saw the challenge there. This was the moment, the point of no return. "Yes," I said, the lie smooth and terrible. "He is." Emma beamed. Just like that, her world expanded to include this stranger, this dangerous man who held our lives in his hands. Children were resilient that way, accepting change with an ease adults had forgotten. Mrs. Chen cleared her throat from the doorway. "I should go," she said in her accented English. "I bring Emma's things. They're downstairs." "My people will handle it," Dante said, standing smoothly. He pulled out cash, $100 bills, more than Mrs. Chen would make in a month, and pressed them into her hand. "Thank you for caring for her. If Charlotte needs anything else, she'll let you know." Mrs. Chen's eyes widened at the money, then at me. I saw the question there, the concern. But I smiled and nodded, giving her permission to leave, to forget about us. She left with Teresa, and the door closed with that familiar finality. We were alone. The 3 of us, this false family. "Come on, sweetheart," I said to Emma. "Let me show you your new room." Dante led us down the hallway to a door I'd passed earlier. When he opened it, I forgot to breathe. The room was a child's dream. Soft pink walls with hand-painted flowers climbing up toward the ceiling, a canopy bed with gauzy white curtains, piled with stuffed animals, a bookshelf filled with new books, their spines uncracked and promising, a toy chest overflowing with dolls and puzzles and art supplies. A child-sized table and chairs, perfect for tea parties. Windows with a view of the city, secured with locks and safety features I recognized immediately. "This is mine?" Emma whispered, clutching her rabbit tighter. "All yours," Dante said. "Do you like it?" She let go of my hand and walked into the room as if entering a fairy tale. She touched everything, the soft bedding, the stuffed animals, the books. She opened the closet and gasped. It was filled with clothes, all in her size, from play clothes to pretty dresses. "Mommy, look." She pulled out a dress covered in butterflies. "It's beautiful." I looked at Dante, at the careful way he'd orchestrated this, making himself the hero, the provider, the answer to all our problems. He'd bought her love with toys and pretty things, and she was too young to understand the price. "It's perfect, baby," I managed. Emma spun around, the dress held against her. "Can we live here forever?" The question was innocent, hopeful. Dante answered before I could. "Yes," he said. "This is your home now, yours and your mommy's. No one will ever take it away." Emma squealed and ran to hug him. He went still for a moment, as if unsure what to do with the child's affection, then carefully placed one hand on her back, awkward and careful. Over her head, his eyes met mine, triumphant, possessive. "See how easy it is?" his expression said. "See how quickly she accepts me?" I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab Emma and run. But she was smiling, genuinely happy for the first time in months, and I wouldn't take that from her, even if it was built on lies. "Why don't you play for a bit?" I suggested. "Get to know your new room. I need to talk to Dante for a minute." Okay, she was already pulling stuffed animals off the bed, creating some elaborate game only she understood. Dante and I stepped into the hallway. He closed the door partially, enough that we could see her, but she couldn't hear us. "You bought her," I said quietly, fury making my voice shake. "You bought her love with toys and pretty rooms." I gave her security. His voice was equally quiet, but harder, colder. "Something you couldn't provide. A safe place. Stability. A future that doesn't involve poverty and fear. We were fine. You were drowning." He stepped closer, his presence overwhelming in the narrow hallway. 3 months behind on rent, choosing between electricity and food, working yourself to exhaustion for tips that barely covered basics. That's not fine, Charlotte. That's desperation. It was honest. It was unnecessary. His hand came up, cupping my jaw, forcing me to look at him. "You don't have to struggle anymore. Emma doesn't have to go without. All you have to do is accept what I'm offering. I don't want your charity. It's not charity. You're my wife. What's mine is yours." His thumb brushed my lower lip and heat shot through me, unwanted and undeniable. "Why is that so hard for you to accept?" "Because it's not real." I jerked away from his touch. "This marriage, this life, none of it is real. It's all just part of your plan to catch Jake." Something flickered in his eyes, hurt maybe, though that seemed impossible. Men like Dante didn't get hurt. They did the hurting. "Perhaps it started that way," he said slowly. "But intentions change, situations evolve. You're here now. Emma's here. That makes it real enough. Until you catch Jake, then what? You throw us back to our old life, or do we become collateral damage?" "You really think I'd hurt you?" He looked genuinely offended. "I told you, I don't break things I value." "Then what am I to you?" The question came out raw, desperate. "Really?" He studied me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he leaned in, his lips close to my ear, his breath warm against my skin. "You're the most interesting problem I've had in years," he whispered. "And I don't know yet if you're going to be my salvation or my destruction. But either way, cara mia, you're mine." He pulled back, and his phone buzzed. He checked it, his expression hardening. "I have to go," he said. "Business that can't wait. Marco will be stationed outside. Teresa will help you and Emma settle in. Don't try to leave." "Or what?" "Or I'll have to bring you back. And neither of us wants that." He started to walk away, then paused. "There's a phone in the bedroom. My number is programmed in. If you need anything at all, call me, day or night. I won't need you." He smiled, sad and knowing. "You will. Sooner than you think." He left, and I stood in the hallway, my heart racing, my mind spinning. Through the partially open door, I could hear Emma singing to herself, happy and innocent, and completely unaware that our entire world had shifted on its axis. I touched the ring on my finger, feeling its weight, its permanence. Mrs. Salvatore, Dante's wife, the bait in a trap I didn't understand. And despite everything, despite the fear and fury and violation, some small, treacherous part of me wondered what it would be like if this were real, if a man like Dante actually wanted me for me, not for what I could give him or how I could serve his purposes. That part of me was dangerous. That part could get us killed. I pushed it down, buried it deep, and went back into Emma's room to play with my daughter while I still could. 3 days passed in a strange, surreal blur. Emma adapted with the frightening ease of childhood. Her laughter echoed through the penthouse as she explored her new world. The playroom Teresa showed us on the second day, the library with its rolling ladder and thousands of books, the kitchen where the chef let her help make cookies. She called Dante Daddy, without hesitation now. And each time the word left her lips, something in my chest cracked a little more. I watched her bloom in this golden cage and hated myself for the relief I felt. No more counting pennies, no more skipping meals, no more lying awake at night wondering how I'd make rent. Emma had everything she needed, everything I'd never been able to give her, and all it cost was my freedom and my soul. Dante was gone most of those 3 days. Business, Teresa said vaguely, as if that explained the armed men coming and going at odd hours. The hushed phone conversations in Italian, the tension that seemed to vibrate through the penthouse walls. But he called every night, exactly at 8 o'clock, and Emma would run to the phone with excitement while I stood nearby, listening to their conversations. "Did you have fun today, princess?" "Yes. Chef Marco taught me how to make pasta, and Mommy read me 3 stories, and I got to feed the fish in the big tank." "That sounds wonderful. Are you being good for your mother?" "Uh-huh. I'm being very good." "That's my girl. Can you put Mommy on the phone?" And Emma would hand me the phone, oblivious to the way my hands shook when I took it. "Charlotte." His voice was always low, intimate, as if we were lovers instead of captor and captive. "What do you want?" I kept my voice neutral, aware of Emma playing nearby. "To hear your voice, to make sure you have everything you need." A pause, "To remind you that you're safe." Safe. I nearly laughed. "Is that what you call this?" "Yes." No hesitation. "Have you been sleeping?" The question surprised me. "Why do you care?" "Because Teresa tells me you pace the bedroom at night, that you barely eat, that you're losing weight you can't afford to lose." His voice dropped lower. "I need you healthy, Charlotte, for Emma's sake, if not your own. Maybe I'd sleep better if I wasn't a prisoner." "You're not a prisoner. You're my wife. Those aren't mutually exclusive." A sound that might have been a laugh. "No, I suppose they're not. I'll be home tomorrow evening. We're having dinner together. Just the 2 of us." My stomach dropped. "What about Emma?" "Teresa will watch her. This is non-negotiable, Cara. We need to talk. And we need to do it without little ears listening." He hung up before I could argue. The next day crawled by with agonizing slowness. Emma sensed my tension and became clingy, following me from room to room, asking if I was okay, if I was happy, if I liked our new home. I lied to her with a smile that felt like glass cutting my face. Teresa appeared at 5 o'clock with another dress. This one deep emerald green, elegant and form-fitting in a way that made me uncomfortable. "Mr. Salvatore requested you wear this tonight. I'm not his doll to dress up." Teresa's expression softened with something like sympathy. "No, you're his wife. There's a difference. The dress is beautiful, and it will make you feel beautiful. Sometimes that's armor enough." I wanted to refuse, to wear my old jeans and a t-shirt just to spite him. But Teresa was right. I needed armor tonight, even if it came in silk and designer labels. The dress fit perfectly, hugging my curves in ways my usual clothes never did. I'd gained a little weight back over the past 3 days. Teresa made sure I ate, watching me with the determination of a mother hen. And it showed in the way the fabric draped. I looked like someone else in the mirror. Someone confident and elegant, and completely unlike the exhausted waitress I'd been a week ago. I left my hair down, applied minimal makeup, and slipped on the heels Teresa had left. Black, simple, just high enough to make my legs look longer. If this was a performance, I'd play my part. Dante arrived at exactly 6 o'clock. I heard him before I saw him, the elevator, low voices as he spoke with his men, footsteps in the hallway. Emma ran to greet him, and I followed more slowly, my heart hammering against my ribs. He was removing his suit jacket when we entered the living room, his movements precise and controlled. He wore all black today, black shirt, black slacks, even his tie was black silk. He looked dangerous and beautiful and completely in control. When he saw Emma, his expression softened. "There's my princess. Were you good today?" "So good. Mommy and I made a fort in my room, and we had a tea party with all my stuffed animals." "That sounds perfect." He glanced up, and his eyes found mine. They widened slightly, traveling down my body and back up in a way that made heat bloom under my skin. "Charlotte, you look beautiful." The compliment felt like a trap. "You requested the dress." "I did. I didn't know it would look like that on you." His voice had gone rough, hungry in a way that made me take a step back. He noticed and reined himself in, turning his attention back to Emma. "I need to have dinner with your mommy tonight. Just grown-up talk. Teresa is going to watch a movie with you and make popcorn. Would that be okay?" Emma's face fell slightly, but she nodded. She was a good girl, my Emma. Too good. Too willing to please. Teresa appeared as if summoned and took Emma's hand. "Come, little one. We have Frozen ready to watch, and I made extra butter for the popcorn." Emma waved goodbye, already distracted by the promise of treats, and disappeared down the hallway. The silence she left behind felt heavy, oppressive. Dante gestured toward the dining room. "Shall we?" The table had been set for two, intimate and elegant, with candles flickering in crystal holders. Wine glasses caught the light. The food smelled incredible. Pasta with cream sauce, fresh bread, salad with herbs I could smell from the doorway. He held out my chair, and I sat because refusing felt childish. His hand brushed my shoulder as he pushed the chair in, and electricity shot through me. I hated my body's reaction to him, the way my skin heated at his slightest touch. He sat across from me, close enough to touch, and poured wine into both glasses. I thought we could talk, really talk, without performances or pretenses. "Isn't that all this is? A performance? Is it?" He studied me over the rim of his glass. "You've been here 3 days, Charlotte. Has anyone hurt you? Threatened you? Treated you with anything but respect? You drugged me and forced me into marriage. That's the definition of disrespect. I gave you a way out of poverty. I gave your daughter a safe home. I gave you protection from a man who was planning to use you." He leaned forward. "Yes, my methods were extreme, but the alternative was worse. You don't get to decide what's worse for me. Don't I?" His eyes flashed. "Jake was watching you, planning something. If I hadn't intervened, what do you think would have happened? Do you think he'd have asked nicely to involve you in whatever scheme he's running?" The truth of his words made my chest tight. "So you did the same thing, just with better furniture?" "No." The word was sharp. "I married you. I claimed you publicly. In my world, that means something. It means you're untouchable. It means anyone who wants to hurt you has to go through me first. And trust me, Kara, very few people are willing to do that. Because you're a monster. Because I'm effective." He took a sip of wine, never breaking eye contact. "There's a difference. Monsters act without purpose. Everything I do has a reason. And what's your reason for keeping me here?" "Really?" He set down his glass, his expression shifting into something more vulnerable, more human. "At first? Bait. You were convenient. Connected to Jake but distant enough that using you wouldn't cause immediate blowback. The marriage was meant to draw him out, to make him sloppy with rage. And now? Now." He paused, as if choosing his words carefully. "Now I'm not sure what you are. You're not what I expected. You're stronger than I anticipated. More resilient. You fight me at every turn, but you do it intelligently, carefully, always thinking of Emma first. That's rare. That's valuable. I'm not valuable. I'm just a mother protecting her child. That's exactly what makes you valuable." He reached across the table, his hand covering mine before I could pull away. His touch was warm, his palm calloused. "I grew up in this world, Charlotte. violence and betrayal, and people who'd sell their own mothers for the right price. Loyalty is rare. Love is rarer. Watching you with Emma, the way you'd burn down the world for her. That's something I understand. Something I respect. I stared at our joined hands, at the matching rings. You respect me so much you took away my choice. I gave you choices you didn't have before. His thumb traced circles on my palm. Stay with me, and Emma grows up safe, protected, with every opportunity you never had. Or leave, and go back to struggling. Always looking over your shoulder, wondering when Jake will show up, because he will, Charlotte. With or without me, he's coming for you. Why? What could I possibly have that he wants? Dante's expression darkened. Information, maybe. Revenge. Or maybe he's finally realized what he lost when he walked away from you. His grip tightened slightly. Men don't always appreciate what they have until someone else takes it. The possessiveness in his voice should have terrified me. Instead, it sent heat pooling low in my stomach. I pulled my hand back, needing distance, needing to think. This isn't real, I said, but my voice lacked conviction. You don't know me. I don't know you. We're strangers playing house, are we? He stood, moving around the table with that predatory grace. He stopped behind my chair, his hands resting on my shoulders. I could feel his heat, smell that cologne that was becoming familiar. I know you take your coffee black with 2 sugars. I know you hum when you're nervous. I know you check on Emma 3 times every night before you can sleep. I know you're afraid of heights, but you stand by the windows anyway because you won't let fear control you. His hand slid down my arms, leaving trails of fire. I know you're exhausted and terrified and furious, but you smile for your daughter because you won't let her see you break. I know you're stronger than you believe you are. And I know, his voice dropped to a whisper against my ear, that when I touch you, your pulse races exactly like it's doing right now. I should have pushed him away, should have told him to stop, to leave, to never touch me again. But my body betrayed me, leaning into his warmth, craving the contact I'd been starved for since long before Jake left. This is wrong, I whispered. Is it? His lips brushed my ear, not quite a kiss. You're my wife. I'm your husband. What's wrong about wanting each other? Everything. All of it. But I didn't move away. Then tell me to stop. His hand settled on my waist, holding me gently, giving me room to escape. Tell me you feel nothing, that this is just fear and anger. Lie to me, Charlotte. I dare you. I couldn't. God help me. I couldn't. Because somewhere between the terror and rage, between the forced smiles and careful performances, something had shifted. I'd watched him with Emma, seen the careful way he gentled himself around her. I'd seen the respect his people showed him. Not just fear, but genuine loyalty. I'd seen the way he looked at me when he thought I wasn't watching, hungry and possessive and something softer I couldn't name. He was a monster, a criminal, a man who'd stolen my freedom and called it protection. But he was also the only person in years who'd seen me as more than invisible, who'd looked at my poverty and exhaustion and said, you deserve better, who'd given my daughter everything I'd ever wanted for her, and that made him the most dangerous thing of all. I can't do this, I said, but I didn't pull away. Then don't. His arms wrapped around me from behind, holding me against his chest. Just sit with me, have dinner, talk, nothing more. I can be patient. Why? Because you're worth the wait. We stayed like that for a long moment, his arms around me, my heart racing, the candles flickering between us. And for the first time since waking up in his penthouse, I let myself wonder, what if this could be real? 2 weeks passed, and the lines between performance and reality blurred until I couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. Dante came home every evening at 6. He had dinner with us, Emma chattering about her day while he listened with genuine interest, asking questions about her drawings, her games, her imaginary friends. After dinner, he'd read Emma bedtime stories while I watched from the doorway, my heart doing complicated things I couldn't name. Then, when Emma was asleep, he'd find me, sometimes in the living room, sometimes on the balcony where I'd learned to ignore the dizzying height. We'd talk, about nothing, about everything. He told me about growing up in his family, about learning the business from his father, about the violence he'd witnessed and committed. I told him about Emma's birth, about the terrifying joy of holding her for the first time, about the desperation of trying to survive alone. We never touched beyond accidental brushes of hands, but the tension between us grew thicker every day, a living thing that pulsed with unspoken want. And Jake hadn't surfaced, not a whisper, not a sign. It was as if he'd vanished completely. "He's waiting," Dante said one night. We were on the balcony, the city lights spreading below us like fallen stars, watching, planning. He knows I have you now, and he's trying to figure out his next move. I wrapped my arms around myself, the night air cool against my skin. Maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he's just gone. Men like Jake don't walk away from unfinished business. Dante stood beside me, close, but not touching. "He'll come. And when he does, I need you to trust me. Trust you." I laughed, the sound bitter. "You still haven't told me the whole truth. What did Jake really steal? Why is he so important?" Dante was quiet for a long moment, his jaw tight, then he sighed. "The money doesn't matter. I can replace that. But the information, client names, shipment routes, details about operations, that's leverage. That's power. In the wrong hands, it could start a war, get people killed, destroy everything I've built. And you think Jake is working with someone?" "I know he is. The theft was too clean, too precise. He had help. Inside help." His hands gripped the railing, knuckles white. "Someone in my organization is a traitor, and Jake is the key to finding out who." The weight of it settled over me. This wasn't just about revenge or money. It was about survival, about protecting everything and everyone in Dante's world, including us. "What happens when you find him?" I asked quietly. "He answers for what he's done." Dante's voice was cold, final. "And then you're free of him, forever." "And us? Emma and me? What happens to us?" He turned to face me, his dark eyes searching mine. "That depends on you, on what you want." "What I want?" The question felt absurd. I never had a choice. "You have one now." He stepped closer, his hand coming up to cup my face. "Stay with me. Not because you have to, not because I'm forcing you, but because you want to. Be my wife in truth, not just in name. Let me give you and Emma the life you deserve." My breath caught. "Dante, I know I did this all wrong. I know I took your choice away, that I'm asking you to accept the unacceptable. But these past 2 weeks," his thumb brushed my cheekbone, "I've seen who you really are. Your strength, your love for Emma, the way you refuse to break no matter how hard I push. And I want that. I want you. Not as bait, not as a convenient tool, but as mine. Really mine. You're asking me to choose my jailer. I'm asking you to choose your partner." His other hand settled on my waist, pulling me closer. "I can give you everything, Charlotte. Safety, security, a future for Emma. But more than that, I can see you. Really see you. Not the exhausted waitress, not the struggling single mother, but the woman underneath, the one who's brilliant and fierce and deserves so much more than she's been given." I should have said no, should have pushed him away, but his words touched something deep inside me. Something that had been starving for years. To be seen, to be valued, to be wanted for more than what I could provide. "This is insane," I whispered. "Yes." He leaned closer, his forehead resting against mine, but sometimes insanity is the only rational response to an irrational world. His lips brushed mine, tentative, asking permission. And instead of pulling away, instead of slapping him and screaming that this was wrong, I closed the distance between us. The kiss was electric. His lips were soft but demanding, coaxing mine open with practiced skill. His arms wrapped around me, pulling me flush against him, and I melted into his heat. It had been so long since anyone had touched me like this, wanted me like this, and my body responded with a desperation that should have shamed me. But shame was impossible when his hands tangled in my hair, when his tongue slid against mine, when he groaned into my mouth like I was everything he'd ever wanted. We broke apart, both breathing hard, and he rested his forehead against mine. "Stay," he whispered. "Choose me. Choose this. I promise you won't regret it." Before I could answer, his phone rang. The sharp tone that meant emergency. He cursed in Italian, pulling it out and checking the screen. His entire body went rigid. "What is it?" I asked. "Jake." The word was cold, deadly. "He just made contact. He wants to meet." My blood turned to ice. "When?" "Tomorrow night. Neutral territory." Dante's eyes met mine, and I saw the predator in them, the dangerous man beneath the careful facade. "He's asked for you to be there." "Absolutely not." "I know. Which is why you'll stay here, protected, while I handle this." His hands gripped my shoulders. "I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" Could I? Could I trust the man who'd kidnapped me, forced me into marriage, upended my entire world? The same man who'd given my daughter everything she needed, who kissed me like I was precious, who looked at me as if I mattered? "Yes," I heard myself say. "I trust you." The next evening felt like walking through a nightmare. Dante left at sunset, surrounded by his men, armed and dangerous and utterly focused. He kissed Emma goodnight, then pulled me into his arms and kissed me like it might be the last time. "I'll come back," he promised against my lips. "I always come back." Then he was gone, and I was left waiting with Teresa and Emma and half a dozen armed guards stationed throughout the penthouse. Emma sensed my tension and became clingy, refusing to go to bed, asking where Daddy went, if he was okay, if he'd be home soon. I lied to her with a smile and put her to bed with 3 extra stories. The hours crawled by, 10 o'clock, 11, midnight. My phone rang at 12:30, and I nearly dropped it in my panic to answer. "Charlotte," Dante's voice, rough and tired. "It's done. Are you okay? What happened?" "Jake is dead. So is the traitor in my organization. It's over." A pause. "I'm coming home." Relief flooded through me so powerfully I had to sit down. Okay, we'll be here." "Charlotte?" His voice softened. "I meant what I said. About this being about real. Wanting you to stay. I know. And I did. Somewhere in the chaos and fear, I'd stopped performing and started feeling. We can talk when you get home." He arrived an hour later, exhausted and bloodied. Not his blood, he assured me quickly. And I helped him clean up without asking questions I wasn't ready to hear answers to. We sat on the couch in the dark living room, my head on his shoulder, his arm around me, watching the city lights. "Tell me the truth," I said quietly. "Did you know, when you chose me, that I'd end up actually mattering?" "No." His hand stroked my hair, gentle and soothing. "You were supposed to be convenient, a means to an end. But you became..." He paused, searching for words. "You became everything. You and Emma, my family. Real, in a way nothing else in my life has ever been. I should hate you," I whispered. "I know. But I don't. I can't." I tilted my head back to look at him. "You gave me something no one else ever has. You saw me. Not what I could do for you, not how I could serve a purpose, but me. Just me. You're extraordinary, Charlotte. Anyone who couldn't see that was blind. Or maybe I needed someone extraordinary to recognize it." I reached up, touching his face, tracing the sharp line of his jaw. "This is insane. We barely know each other. This started with violence and force. But it doesn't have to end that way." He caught my hand, pressing a kiss to my palm. "Stay with me. Build something real with me. Let me spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of you." It was insane, impossible, wrong in every rational way, but my heart, my treacherous, hopeful heart, whispered yes. "Okay," I said. "Yes, I'll stay." His smile was brilliant, transforming his face into something beautiful and almost vulnerable. He kissed me again, deep and claiming and full of promise. And I kissed him back with everything I had. We stayed like that, wrapped in each other, until dawn painted the sky pink and gold. 6 months later, I woke up to Emma's laughter echoing through the penthouse. I rolled over to find Dante's side of the bed empty. Our bed, in the master suite I'd moved into 3 months ago, when pretending stopped making sense. I found them in the kitchen. Emma sat on the counter in her pajamas, helping Dante make pancakes. He wore sweatpants and nothing else, his hair mussed from sleep. And he looked happy. Genuinely, completely happy. "Mommy!" Emma spotted me. "Daddy's making chocolate chip pancakes." "I see that." I leaned against the doorway, drinking in the scene. My daughter, my husband, my family, real in ways I'd never imagined possible. Dante looked up, his dark eyes warm. "Morning, cara mia. Coffee's ready." I walked over, accepted the cup he handed me and kissed him, soft and easy and full of the love I'd stopped fighting months ago. Emma made gagging noises and we laughed. It wasn't the life I'd planned. It wasn't the life I'd have chosen, but it was ours. Built on impossible foundations, perhaps, but real nonetheless. And as Dante pulled me into his arms with Emma between us, I realized something. Sometimes the most beautiful things come from the darkest beginnings. Sometimes monsters become men when they find something worth fighting for. And sometimes, just sometimes, the cage becomes home when it's filled with love.